Steel clashes, banners rise, and dice tumble. Medieval and ancient warfare remains one of tabletop gaming's most exciting periods. And 2025 has never offered more ways to fight your battles of crown and conquest. Today, we're counting down my top medieval and ancient miniature games that deserve a spot on your table this year. If you haven't already, do please like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out what's coming in the future, and also jump over and join us on Facebook so you can share your projects also. So first up we have Clash of Spears. This is quite an interesting skirmish level game. I've had a couple of battles so far, still learning, so I'm not an expert, but definitely I found it has a huge amount of potential and a lot of fun. So as I said, it's a skirmish game using small forces, usually of around 30 to 60 figures per side. They're fast-paced games, which do require you to keep your attention on it from both sides, because there's some pretty novel rules, exhaustion rules, but also interruption actions that you can take to interrupt your opponents if you catch them sleeping, so to speak. The rulebook itself, really good. The images that you can see here are from the rules themselves. Lays out the rules well. Also comes with several scenarios, quick battles, plus all of the army lists that you'd expect for pretty well all the armies that fought during the period. But yeah, as I said, it's a fast-paced warband level game, usually played with 28mm figures on a 4x4 table, and battles take somewhere around 1 hour to 3 hours to be played out. So a good, fun afternoon's battle, possibly a bit shorter, possibly a bit longer, but definitely worth giving a try. I really enjoyed it, so one to think about. Cool, and our next game is Test of Honor version 2. So for those of you that haven't played version 1, it is a samurai based game set obviously in Japan in the second half of the 15th century. It is a skirmish game, a bit like our first one, which is good for people who are just getting into the hobby because you don't need a huge number of troops. For Test of Honor, you are looking at probably anywhere from 5 to 20 figures per side, and usually again 28mm figures, although you could use whatever size scale you want, but that's just the general rule. Your force usually consists of a leader, 1 or 2 samurai, and then any number of underlings or followers, who could be, who knows, muskets, monks, commoners, you name it. It could be anything like that. It is an I go, you go system, and you draw chits from a bag, so it's quite fun, and sort of leaves you kind of guessing what's coming next. As far as the mechanics, they're pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You move, you charge, you attack, and you just roll a certain number of dice, and they're d6s, and then depending on what you roll and what the symbols are on the dice, if you get enough of them you pass, and if you don't get enough you fail. However, there's also the chance of, I think it's called flubbing, where you end up injuring yourself or you have a misfortune. So quite a few interesting, fun little pieces like that. As a rule book itself, they're pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. It's about 72 pages, I think. 70, somewhere like that anyway. Some good photos, good information. It's nicely laid out, so that's definitely worth it if you're thinking getting the rule sets. Terrain-wise, again, it depends on what scale you're playing at, but usually you're going to be playing on a 3-foot by 3-foot table using 28mm figures. And so with a 3-foot table, you don't actually need a huge amount of scenery, which is quite nice. Again, if you're breaking into the hobby, you don't need to have too much. And there's quite a few different suppliers out there. Or you can do it the DIY way, which is kind of what I like to do on my channel, and make hedgerows and trees and buildings yourself. But overall, yeah, it's a really fun game. Low barrier to entry because you only need, like, what did I say, 3, 5, up to 20 figures. Small table area, so you can play it pretty well anywhere. But yeah, lots of interesting mechanics. So it's another fun one for a quiet afternoon, but definitely recommend this one to you. So next up we have Outremer, Faith and Blood by Osprey Games. So this is another medieval skirmish rule set. This one is a Crusader themed game. Easy to get into. Again, your forces for this game tend to be anywhere from about 3 figures up to 12, so very low level of entry requirements. Can it be used in the Northern Crusades, in the Middle East? Yes, it can. It could also be used for any other sort of medieval style skirmish game you want to play it with. But yeah, it's a simple game to learn. It's random activation in that each figure has a card. Cards get shuffled together, and once it's drawn, you can activate. Each figure can then do 2 things, 2 actions on its turn. So very straightforward, very simple to learn. There are some pretty interesting and I would say good mechanics within it. So again, it's kind of a bit of a mix of D&D as well as wargaming, in that you've got encumbrance, so the heavier your armor and equipment, the slower you go, which is quite interesting for them to put into a skirmish game, but good at the same time. Also, you've got a full range of dice, so you need D4, D6, D8, 10, 12, and 20, and basically the better the soldier that you've got, the higher the dice you roll. So if you've got a target number of 5 plus, if you roll a d6, you've got 2 chances to hit it, whereas on a 20 you've got a heck of a lot more chances. So the better the soldier, the higher the dice roll, in layman's terms. There's a bit more to it than that, but just to give you an idea. Another thing which I really liked about this game is, if you've ever played Necromunda or Moretime, 2 of I think probably the more favoured Games Workshop games, they've got quite a good campaign scenario building aspect to them, where one mission leads on to another. Your troops can sort of develop and gain experience, and you can hire extra troops. This game, whether directly taking from that or not, has those same sort of mechanics. So each mission and scenario you go on, you're going to gain experience on your men as you then hire mercenaries or gain extra troops to join you, and your warband can gain renown. So it is fun from that sort of perspective. It would probably also, if you are the type of player that enjoys competitive sort of tournament play, it would probably be a good tournament game as well. Is it the best game I've ever played? Probably not, but is it a quick and easy and fun game, especially for a beginner to pick up? I would say yes. So if you're interested in the Crusades and you want a nice quick easy game to learn, which also allows you to campaign, definitely give this one a try. Next up we have Lion Rampant. So this is a bit of an oldie but a goodie, and they've also just released the 2nd edition. I'm more talking about the original here, but again, a nice good skirmish game, which usually you're needing somewhere in the region of about 20 to 50 miniatures. So a reasonable number to have on the table, but not overwhelming, and you can definitely build up to it, just scaling both sides down. But again, it's a medieval inspired combat game, skirmish, rather than big battle. Although you probably could use the rules and scale it up if you wanted to do larger battles, but as I said, skirmish game. It's got some cool, interesting, unique features, like the activation system. It isn't just I go, you go. When it's your turn to move troops, you've got to activate them, and depending on what you want them to do will determine what the actual dice roll is. So if you wanted your archers to fire their bows, that's going to be easier than you giving them the order to charge into hand-to-hand combat. So the activation for the action you're asking varies from unit to unit, so that's pretty cool. I do enjoy that. Overall though, it's a good game. There's not a huge amount more to say than that. It's fun. It's got a good bit of historical feel to it. The rules, they're quick, they're easy to learn. It's not too over the top. So for a skirmish game, where you just want to pick up a few dozen figures really, get them on the table and have a historically inspired game. Yeah, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's fun and quick. So definitely give this one a try. I haven't tried the second edition, so I've heard there's a few updates in that one. I think more around leader traits, although I could be mistaken, so that's something I will have to look into. But yeah, Lion Rampant, again, released by Osprey Games. They've also got Dragon Rampant, if you wanted more of a fantasy game. But again, cool, interesting game, good, quick mechanics and playing ability. And now we have Shatter of Spears, Thunder of Chariots, which is the rule set that I developed. It is available on my Ko-fi channel, so head over there if you want to grab a set. But this one is set during the ancient period, so if you think Rome, Greece, etc. Although you could easily just modify the rules and the characteristics of the figures, the stat block, and make them more medieval if you wish to, such as for the Roman legionaries, get rid of their javelin ability, and they're going to be pretty comparable to a man-at-arms or possibly a dismounted knight. But overall, it is designed as a army game, but the way equally that I designed it is that each unit you can use whatever scale you want as long as both sides are using the same scale. So as long as you're both using 28mm, you're good to go. If both sides are using 6mm, you're both good to go, and the bases again accordingly. Ranges, if you're using the smaller scales, we use centimeters. If you're using larger, use inches. But you can use it as a skirmish game or as a large battle game. So it's got the options there for both sides, although it was designed for large battles. One of the things about it which I try and develop for each of my rule sets is the campaign feature. If you go through and you've been a follower of the channel, you'll know that we've always run the actual full campaign on the channel. We did it for the English Civil War, American Civil War, Napoleonic Wars, and we will do, and we've done it just finished recently, the Roman invasion of Britain, AD 43. So you can see how the campaigns flow by watching those videos. But overall, it's a very quick game, depending on how many figures you have. Most games take anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. You're looking at, again, a low barrier to entry with the number of troops you want. Depending on how you base them and what scale, you're looking at a maximum of 12 units per side, and usually you're looking at somewhere between 6 and 10 on average. Forces in this game are not to be equal or balanced. They're more for historical or just random. Historical armies weren't matched man for man. You want to have a bit of advantage. If you're at a disadvantage, it means you've got to use your own skill and abilities in the terrain to be able to try and beat your opponent. But they're easy to learn. They work off of the D6 as the basic dice, although you do need D20 as well to track if your commanders get wounded during combat or being shot at. But as I said, within the game itself you get the rules, or should I say within the rule book you get the rules, you get 5 scenarios, and you get the full campaign. So it's quite a good package. So there you have it. Whether you're leading a handful of knights or commanding full armies fit for kings, medieval miniatures and ancient wargaming has never been stronger. Which one of these is your favourite, or do you have a separate one that you think is even better? Please leave that in the comments down below so that we can see who your champion actually is. Now, if you did want to pick up my rule set and support the channel, please head over to the Ko-fi channel so that you can pick up one of those games. But until next time, guys, you might be interested in one of these 2 videos, so click on one of those and go and see what else we've got on the channel. And always remember, keep gaming and keep having fun.